The rapid development of a vaccine for COVID-19 reflects the marvel of modern medical science and provides welcome respite from months of stifling lockdowns the virus has imposed on world populations. This presentation intends to argue against the implementation of so-called immunity passports, a program which many world governments have proposed as a solution to lockdowns. The material for this presentation was cited from accredited sources, many of whom work in conjunction with the World Health Organization. The articles were published in reputable magazines like The Lancet or Nature. The information and perspective was developed in the last year, reflecting the imminent nature of the pandemic. All contributors were adamant in solving the crisis, with no opinion given that reflected a secondary motivation. Several governments have implemented vaccination programs to advance a safe return to social and economic normality for their citizens, and many have legislated or debated a policy of mandatory documentation of immunization to permit travel, commerce, and social gatherings. These immunity passports will take the form of paper certificates, wristbands, or a smartphone application. This solution, however, has troubling ethical implications. This presentation will contend that immunity passports are the wrong approach to resolving the lockdown crisis because they further issues of social inequity, are an affront to civil liberties, and rely upon inconsistent scientific data. Medical science has a regrettable history of racial discrimination. Unethical and dangerous experimentation with the health of racialized people has left a persistent legacy of distrust in medical institutions among these groups. For example, the Tuskegee experiments or the treatment of children at residential schools. Recent studies report a substantial vaccine hesitancy rate among Black Canadians. This same group demonstrates a troubling distrust in legal authorities. The argument that mandated vaccination documents disadvantage racialized people has been voiced by medical ethicists. The cynicism racialized people express towards vaccinations is historically justifiable. Better outreach programs with an emphasis on cultural sensitivity is a possible strategy to overcoming vaccination hesitancy. But to mandate an immunity passport and further compromise the freedoms of people with a stigmatic history of oppression is an unethical solution. The moral difficulties that immunity passports present is most prevalent in marginalized communities, but their implications extend to everyone in a free society. Canada, as well as other free nations, have documents and laws that encode the rights of individuals. In essence, they are an agreement between the state and its citizens that specify the individual rights of people and the level to which the state can impose legal force to guarantee the safety and productivity of all citizens. People have a right to privacy, mobility, and commerce. In times of crisis, like war or pandemic, the government is responsible to legislate restrictions on personal liberties, but these restrictions should be temporary and considerate of the implication to business, travel, and family life. Immunity passports bear a striking resemblance to other historic civil restrictions. The tragedy that Jewish people endured in Europe or the internment of Japanese people during the Second World War, government control of human movement and commerce should be limited, even in crisis situations. The fundamental freedoms that free citizens enjoy were developed by people who had studied the tyranny and oppression that was imposed on past societies. The ignorance of history and reflexive acceptance of authority puts our fragile liberty at risk. COVID-19, a novel virus, has presented scientists with a problem which everyone on Earth wishes they would quickly resolve. However, the method of science requires rigorous testing and skeptical observation. The efficacy of vaccines, mask use, distancing, antivirals, and lockdowns have no general consensus among medical scientists, and the continual modulation of expert opinion is in keeping with the scientific method. The desire to reach affirmative conclusions and placate public fear has led officials to use incomplete and conflicting data as credence to impose restrictive conditions on their citizens. This is not ethical use of legislative authority. The credo of trust the science is insincere when a free public has access to the same incomplete, conflicting, and confusing scientific data. In these circumstances, risk assessment should be the right of individuals, and they should retain their individual right to assess the risk of travel, business, and social gathering. This question was posed to the Center for Disease Control, considered a preeminent authority in this field. How long does protection from a COVID-19 vaccine last? And the response: we don't know how long protection lasts for those who are vaccinated. This story illuminates the trouble with immunity passports. It was taken from the headlines of today's news, April the 11th, 2021. There was a terrible and destructive volcanic eruption on the Caribbean island of St. Vincent. People were necessarily fleeing for their lives. The trouble was that they weren't capable of getting off the island unless they had an immunity passport. The achievement of medical science is a testament to our enduring spirit as people. We rely on medical science to ensure the well-being of ourselves, our families, and our communities. Our governments rely on the precision and altruism that medical experts provide to advise policy decisions. And lately, the public has been eager to receive instruction as to when they may feel a sense of personal liberty. The argument has been made that scientists and doctors are the final word on lockdown policy. But this has wide-ranging implications. Medical science is a revered body of knowledge, and the issues of lockdowns and vaccine passports is complex. Sickness and death are horrible, no matter to whom. COVID-19 has presented a difficult situation worldwide. But we should not be viewed only as vectors of contagion. Scientists and doctors should not have the final say on personal liberty. The fundamental rights of citizens were scripted for this reason: to protect people from all forms of tyranny.